Have you noticed how the parts of yourself you try hardest to hide never really go away? The anger, the jealousy, the shame, the strange desires, they slip out when you least expect it. We call this the shadow, and we spend much of our lives trying to bury it. But here's the paradox. What you push away does not disappear. It follows you, shapes you, and in many ways, it is guiding you. The shadow is not a mistake. It is not something broken. It is the part of you that carries the key to your real purpose. Most people live only half a life. They show the parts that win approval and hide the parts that make them nervous. They smile, they play the role, they polish the mask, but under the mask, the shadow waits, and the more you deny it, the more power it gains. You see it when anger bursts out in small moments, or when you find yourself jealous of someone else's success. You see it in the people who irritate you most because they are reflecting something you can't admit in yourself. The shadow is always whispering, "Look here, this is you, too." But instead of listening, we run. We try to be good, pure, perfect. We imagine the goal of life is to become all light. But light without shadow does not exist. They are two sides of the same coin. And so long as you try to cut yourself in half, you will always feel incomplete. The shadow is not here to ruin you. It is here to balance you, to show you what you have left behind. If you face it honestly, you'll find something surprising. The shadow is not only your darkness, it is also your hidden strength. Think of anger. Most people think it's bad, but anger, when seen clearly, shows what you deeply care about. It is passion misdirected. Or think of envy. It feels ugly, but it tells you what you secretly long for, the dream you told yourself you could never have. Even fear has a message. It shows where your edge is, the place you are meant to grow. These feelings, if ignored, will control you, but if understood, they guide you. Your purpose is not separate from them. It grows out of them. The wound is where the gift begins. This is why so many great teachers, artists, and healers find their calling in their struggles. The poet turns heartbreak into words. The healer turns pain into compassion. The leader turns failure into wisdom. Their light was born in their shadow, and so is yours. The parts of yourself you have hidden may be the very soil where your true life waits to grow. To face the shadow is not to destroy it. It is to accept it, to listen to it, and to weave it into your wholeness. For only then can you discover the life you are meant to live. You may wonder, how do I actually face this shadow? Most people imagine it as wrestling with some inner demon. But it is not about fighting. It is about noticing. The next time you feel jealous, instead of saying, "This is bad, I shouldn't feel it," pause and ask, what does this reveal about me? What is this feeling trying to tell me? In this way, you begin to treat your shadow not as an enemy, but as a messenger. And the moment you do this, the shadow begins to lose its grip over you. Remember, what you resist persists. What you run from, you carry. But what you accept begins to transform. Think of it like holding a beach ball underwater. The harder you push, the stronger it fights to rise. That is what happens with the shadow. You try to bury it, but it comes back with greater force. Yet if you simply let it float, it finds its balance on the surface. The same is true of your hidden feelings. When you allow them, you no longer waste your energy suppressing them. You free that energy for living, for creating, for loving. And here is the deeper secret. Your purpose is not something handed down from the sky. It is something that emerges when you live as a whole being. If you only live from your good side, your polite side, you are not whole. You are only half alive. But when you allow the dark with the light, When you say yes to the full spectrum of who you are, then your purpose begins to take shape. It comes not from effort or searching, but from alignment. The shadow, once faced, shows you what truly matters to you. You see, the shadow is honest, brutally honest. It does not care about appearances, about manners, about what people think. It shows you your raw edges, and within those edges lies truth. For example, a person who hides their anger may discover, once they face it, that they are meant to speak up for others, to fight for justice. A person who hides their envy may discover that it points to a passion they abandoned long ago. Even fear, when embraced, becomes courage in disguise. Your purpose lives in the places you least want to look. So ask yourself, gently, what part of me have I been hiding? What trait do I judge harshly in myself or in others? What dream have I pushed away because it seemed too much, too risky? Write these down, sit with them, not to condemn them, not to indulge them, but simply to acknowledge them. You will see that each shadow carries a thread, and if you follow the thread, it leads to a deeper understanding of who you are and what you are here to do. Facing the shadow is frightening, yes, but it is also liberating. Now let us consider how this affects your relationships. Have you noticed how the same conflicts appear again and again with different people? Perhaps you always clash with authority, or maybe you always find yourself drawn to the same kind of partner. These are not accidents, they are the shadow at work. Relationships act as mirrors, reflecting back the parts of yourself you have yet to face. The person who irritates you most is showing you something about yourself. Instead of only blaming them, ask, what is this revealing about me? In this way, every conflict becomes an opportunity. And when you begin to see your shadow in others, compassion grows. You realize that they, too, are struggling with hidden fears and desires. They, too, are projecting what they cannot face. And suddenly, instead of resenting, you begin to understand. This does not mean excusing harm, but it does mean recognizing our shared humanity. Everyone carries a shadow, and when you embrace your own, you no longer need to pretend you are above others. You meet them as equals. And in that meeting, true connection becomes possible. This is why wholeness is far more powerful than perfection. Perfection is brittle, fragile. It breaks the moment life shows its rough edges. Wholeness, on the other hand, is strong because it already includes the rough edges. When you embrace your shadow, you are no longer afraid of being exposed. You have nothing to hide, and so you live with more freedom, more authenticity. And from this authenticity, purpose shines naturally. You are not trying to be something. You are simply being yourself fully. And that is where meaning is found. Think of the artist who finally paints with all the colors, not just the safe ones. Their work gains depth. Think of the musician who allows sorrow as well as joy into their songs. The music becomes powerful. Think of the teacher who shares their own struggles as well as their wisdom. Their words carry weight. The same is true for you. When you embrace your shadow, your life gains depth. You are no longer flat, one-dimensional. You are real. And in being real, you discover what only you can bring to the world. But some will ask, isn't it dangerous to embrace the shadow? What if it leads me astray? The answer is this: ignoring it is far more dangerous. When you repress the shadow, it controls you unconsciously. That is when it causes real harm. But when you face it consciously, with awareness, it becomes energy you can use. It becomes part of your wholeness. To be whole is not to indulge every impulse, but to recognize them, to understand them, and to guide them wisely. The shadow, once integrated, becomes your ally. It gives you power without corruption. And here is where the deepest purpose begins to reveal itself. Your wounds are not mistakes. They are the raw material of your gift. The very thing you thought disqualified you may be the thing that qualifies you most. A person who has felt loneliness may be called to create community. A person who has known fear may be called to bring courage to others. A person who has faced failure may be called to teach resilience. The shadow holds not only your pain, but also the seed of your contribution. Your purpose is born from both, so do not be surprised if your path feels like a descent before it feels like a rise. The hero must enter the cave before they find the treasure. You too must face the shadow before you discover your calling. And when you do, you realize that purpose was never about escaping the dark. It was about bringing the dark into the light. This is the dance of life. Night and day, joy and sorrow, light and shadow. To embrace both is to awaken. To awaken is to live with depth. And in depth, purpose arises naturally. Look at the areas where you feel the strongest emotion. Look at your anger, your envy, your shame. These are not random. They are signals. They are the places where your shadow is knocking, saying, pay attention. If you follow those signals, you will discover more about yourself than you ever could through polite self-improvement. For the shadow shows you where you are hiding. And where you are hiding is where your life's purpose is waiting. What you run from is often what you are here to give. And this is not only personal, it is collective. For when you face your shadow, you stop projecting it onto others. You stop adding your hidden fear to the world's chaos. Instead, you bring clarity. You bring compassion. Imagine a world where people no longer fought their shadows through each other, but faced them within themselves. Wars would lessen. Hatred would soften. Understanding would deepen. This is why facing your shadow is not selfish. It is service. The more whole you become, the more whole the world becomes. So do not think of this as self-improvement. Think of it as self-integration. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be whole. And wholeness requires every part of you, the light and the dark, the joy and the sorrow, the strengths and the flaws. When you allow it all, you discover a freedom unlike anything else. You no longer have to prove yourself, hide yourself, or run from yourself. You can simply live. And in that living, you naturally express your purpose. It flows out of you, because it is you. The shadow, then, is not a burden. It is a gift. It is the part of you that demands honesty. And honesty is the root of authenticity. Authenticity is the root of purpose. Think of it this way. If you never faced your shadow, you would live someone else's life, chasing borrowed dreams, pleasing the crowd. But when you face it, you reclaim your true path. And that path, though it may not look grand in the world's eyes, is the only one that will ever satisfy you. Because it is yours, entirely yours. So I ask you, what are you running from? What do you criticize most in others? What do you bury in yourself? These are not signs of your failure. They are the doorway to your future. If you turn and walk through them, you will find energy you did not know you had. You will find gifts you had long forgotten. You will find the very purpose you thought you were missing. Life has hidden it in the place you least wanted to look. That is the divine joke. That is the paradox. And when you finally embrace your shadow, you will notice something extraordinary. You stop being divided. You feel a sense of peace you could never find by pretending. You feel a strength that comes from knowing, I am all of this, and I am enough. And from this place, action becomes effortless. Relationships become more honest. Work becomes more meaningful. Even rest feels more complete. For you are no longer split in two. You are whole. And wholeness is the only foundation from which true purpose can arise. So let us not make the shadow an enemy. Let us welcome it as a friend, a teacher, a guide. It will not flatter you. It will not comfort you. but it will show you the truth. And truth, though sometimes uncomfortable, is liberating. To face your shadow is to discover yourself. To integrate your shadow is to live your purpose. And to live your purpose is to finally participate in life fully, deeply, authentically. Remember, light without shadow is an illusion. To be alive is to carry both. Do not run, do not hide. Look into the shadow and see what it has been trying to show you all along. For in the end, it is not darkness. It is the soil where your life's meaning is planted. And if you dare to tend to it, you will find that your shadow was never against you. It was your purpose in disguise, waiting patiently for you to turn around and claim it. Have you noticed how most conversations begin with a tired little ritual? Hi, how are you? And the answer is almost always the same. Fine. But rarely is anyone fine, and rarely does anyone care to know. It's a dance of masks. What if, instead of this automatic noise, you entered a conversation with presence, not with clever tricks or manipulative lines, but with a few words that dissolve the mask and invite the other person to be real? Think of the peculiar magic that happens when you feel understood. Someone looks at you, listens not in haste, but with patience, and then says softly, "I understand you." Suddenly, something relaxes. You are no longer standing outside the gates, knocking, hoping to be let in. You are inside, welcomed. Most of us live surrounded by people, yet still feel alone, because no one has paused long enough to say those words. The truth is, being understood is rarer than love itself. It is the quiet acknowledgement that your inner world is valid, that you are not absurd for feeling what you feel. And what happens when you offer this to another? You become unforgettable, because you have touched something that is deeper than appearance, deeper than charm. You have reached the core. When you say, "I understand," the other feels less chaotic. Their inner storm subsides, and in that calm, they find relief. And relief is magnetic. People do not cling to those who make them anxious. They cling to those who ease their restlessness. You see, attraction is not about impressing others with your brilliance. It is about becoming the sort of presence in which others feel they can finally rest. But understanding requires a little humility. You cannot understand if you are too busy preparing your next clever reply. You cannot understand if you are determined to be the smartest in the room. To understand is to set aside the ego for a moment. To say, "Here is a fellow traveler, walking a road I may not fully know, but I can see the shape of it." And when people sense that in you, they no longer resist. They lean closer because they no longer have to fight to exist in your presence. You have made room for them. Now imagine you are speaking with someone and you tell them, "That makes sense." A small phrase, almost trivial, yet how powerful it is. Because what you are truly saying is, "I have listened. I have taken in your thought, your feeling, and it has found a place in me. It has landed." Most people never receive this gift. They speak, and their words disappear into the void. But when someone hears that, they make sense. Their heart eases. They feel accompanied, no longer wandering alone. And so, without realizing it, they grow attached to the one who mirrors them. This is not about empty agreement. To tell someone that makes sense does not mean you must think the same way. It means you recognize the path they took, the reason behind their words. Recognition is enough. The Stoics called this tolerance, to let another hold their view without needing to crush it. And people feel safe in the company of tolerance. They open themselves further because they sense you are not a threat. And the more they open, the more they trust. The more they trust, the more they wish to remain near. This is the quiet rhythm of connection. But notice, if you simply toss the phrase carelessly, it becomes meaningless. If you say, "That makes sense," without truly listening, it dies on your lips. Presence is what gives it weight. You must really be there, hearing not only the words, but the silence between the words. When you feel the truth of what another has said, then you say, "That makes sense to me, because I can see how you reached it." Now you are no longer two isolated beings. You are sharing a reality. Shared reality is closeness. And closeness, when unforced, is what draws hearts together. There is another phrase that glows with power. You are right. Such a simple thing, yet it satisfies a longing we all carry, even the proudest of us. To be told we are right is to feel seen. Of course, this cannot be overused, for then it becomes flattery, and flattery is counterfeit. But when it is spoken with sincerity, it disarms. Imagine a quarrel, tempers rising, each person determined to win. Then suddenly, one voice says, "You're right about that." Instantly, the tension dissolves. The need to defend collapses, because what people truly seek in argument is not victory, but validation. And to give that validation freely is strength, not weakness. Great mind loves truth, no matter where it appears. So if another has spoken truth, even in the smallest measure, to admit it shows your maturity. It shows you are not a slave to pride. And paradoxically, those who yield attract far more respect than those who must always win. For the insecure must guard every inch of ground, while the wise know when to bow. And when you bow, the other feels safe. And when they feel safe, they begin to trust, to soften, to remain. Consider how different such moments feel compared to ordinary conversation. Most of the time, words are used as weapons, as tools for domination. But when you say, "You're right," sincerely, you lay down the sword. You show that your concern is not for your ego, but for truth itself. And people find that irresistible. Because it is so rare, they meet in you not a rival, but a companion, not a competitor, but an ally. And what is more attractive than one who lets you rest, who lets you be, who acknowledges your value without needing to diminish their own? There is yet another word, perhaps the simplest of all, and yet the most neglected. Listen. Strange, isn't it, that such a small act can feel rarer than gold? We live in a world where nearly everyone is speaking, but hardly anyone is listening. To listen is not simply to wait for your turn to reply. It is not to nod while secretly preparing your next line. To listen is to enter another's world without the urge to rearrange it. When you say, "I'm listening," and truly mean it, you are giving a gift that almost no one ever receives. And how magnetic that gift is, because when someone feels listened to, they feel real, they feel alive, as though their presence matters. You have given them space to unfold without interruption, without judgment. In that moment, you are not trying to control them, or correct them, or outshine them. You are simply being with them. And this, you see, is love in its purest form. Not necessarily romantic love, but the love that recognizes we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we might listen more than we speak. Yet notice how we live now, in constant noise, in endless chatter. To be the one who listens, to be the one who pauses and attends, is to stand out as water in a desert. People return to you not because you dazzled them with brilliance, but because you gave them the rare experience of being heard. And when you think of it, isn't that what we all crave? Simply to be allowed to exist, unchallenged. The secret of all these words, understand, sense, write, listen, is not that they are techniques. The moment you treat them as tricks, they lose their power. Their magic lies in sincerity. When you embody them, You are no longer performing, you are allowing. And in that allowing, others blossom. Think of a flower. You cannot pull at its petals to make it open faster. You give it water, light, soil, and patience. Then one morning, without effort, it opens. In the same way, when you offer understanding, acknowledgement, validation, and listening, people open of their own accord. You attract most when you cease trying to attract. The more you chase, the more people feel smothered. The more you perform, the more they sense the strain. But when you stop chasing, when you stop performing, and instead simply allow others to rest in your presence, they are drawn to you like moths to a flame, not because you tried to be magnetic, but because you became a space in which they felt alive. Attraction is not something you do, it is something that happens when you forget yourself and meet another. Every time you begin a conversation, you are at a fork in the road. Down one path lies the ritual. Hi, how are you? And the answer is always predictable, and the exchange dies there. Down the other path lies presence, a chance to begin not with habit, but with awareness. And in that beginning, you set the tone. If you enter with sincerity, if you open the door with one of these words, the whole encounter unfolds differently. You may find that what began as a simple greeting turns into something unforgettable, even life-changing. But let us not be too solemn. There is play in all of this. Words are not chains, they are games. And when you treat them lightly, with humor, with curiosity, they work best. To understand, to sense, to validate, to listen, these are not heavy duties. They are invitations to dance. They are ways of saying, here we are, two ripples on the same ocean, meeting for a moment before we flow apart again. And in that meeting, why not share something real, something alive? After all, the purpose of communication is not to impress, but to touch. And so, attraction is not built on what you say, but on what the other feels in your presence. Do they feel at ease? Do they feel valued? Do they feel seen? These are the real measures. And notice, you do not need cleverness for this. You do not need to be witty, nor handsome, nor powerful. You need only to be awake in the moment, to meet the other as they are, without the constant urge to manipulate. Strangely enough, when you stop trying to win people over, they come closer, because in you, they sense freedom, and that freedom is contagious. The one who listens reminds others how to breathe. The one who understands reminds others that they belong. That dull little ritual, hi, how are you? It is like knocking on a door that never opens. And yet most conversations still begin this way because we are afraid to break the script. But you need not repeat the old chant. You may, instead, try something fresh, something that startles the other into wakefulness, a phrase that breaks the mask and invites honesty. And here is such a phrase: tell me something good. So simple, and yet so surprising. It jars the mind out of autopilot. It demands thought, not routine. Imagine beginning like this. Instead of the dull back and forth, you ask, tell me something good. At once the other pauses. They must stop, reflect, and reach for something real. Perhaps they smile, recalling a small joy. Perhaps they share something meaningful. But whatever it is, the conversation has already leapt beyond the ordinary. It is no longer a script. It is alive. And in that aliveness, you stand apart. You are no longer another polite stranger lost in the blur of routine. You have awakened the other, and in awakening them, you have awakened yourself as well. You see, this is the essence of presence. To be awake in your meeting with others, rather than sleepwalking through empty phrases. Most people walk about half asleep, bound by rituals and cliches. But if you dare to be awake, if you dare to say something fresh, You bring the conversation into color, and this is what makes you unforgettable. Attraction, connection, love, all arise when two people are willing to step out of the automatic and into the real. And sometimes the doorway is as small as a single word. A simple phrase, spoken sincerely, with nothing behind it but presence. So remember these words, not as weapons, not as tools, but as invitations. When you live this way, you do not need strategies for attraction. You have become attractive by being real. And when you are real, others feel safe to be real with you. Whether you are with a friend, a lover, or a stranger, your presence becomes a gift, and those who receive it will wish to linger, for they will remember how it felt to be with you, light, easy, authentic. That, more than anything, is attraction. Attraction is not a performance, it is a recognition. And recognition, my friends, is love in its simplest form.
Would you consider yourself happy? It is a curious question, isn't it? A question that, upon being asked, immediately sends the mind scurrying about like a startled squirrel, searching for a satisfactory answer. We rummage through the filing cabinets of our recent experiences, looking for evidence. Well, you might say, I had a rather delightful piece of toast this morning, or the sun is shining, and that's something to be cheerful about. Or perhaps, the squirrel returns with a heavy sigh, reporting a litany of frustrations, anxieties, and the gnawing feeling that something is fundamentally amiss. And so you see, the very act of asking the question, of putting yourself on the spot to deliver a verdict on your own state of being, is the beginning of the problem. It is like trying to grasp a sunbeam in your fist. The moment you clench your hand, the light is gone, and you are left with nothing but a shadow. Happiness is much the same. It is not a thing to be possessed, a destination to be arrived at, or a prize to be won. In fact, the more you chase it, the more it eludes you. It's like a mischievous little imp that delights in leading you on a merry chase through the brambles of your own expectations. We live in a culture that is utterly hypnotized by the illusion of a future, a culture that has sold us a bill of goods. We are taught from a very young age to strive, to achieve, to become. We are told that if we just get the right job, find the right partner, buy the right house, and accumulate the right collection of shiny objects, then, and only then, will we be granted the golden ticket to happiness. We are, in essence, living on a promissory note for a future joy that never quite seems to arrive. Think of the educational system. You go to kindergarten so that you can go to elementary school. You go to elementary school so that you can go to middle school, and then high school, and then, of course, college. And why do you go to college? To get a good job, naturally. And why do you want a good job? So that you can make enough money to retire and, finally, at the ripe old age of 65, you can at last begin to enjoy your life. What a colossal joke. As I've often said, it's better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way. This is the great swindle of our civilization. We are always preparing to live, but never actually living. We are like a donkey with a carrot dangled in front of its nose, forever plodding forward in the hopes of a reward that is always just out of reach. We are so busy getting ready for the banquet that we forget to taste the food that is right in front of us. And so, we are always a little bit late to the feast of life. Now, what is to be done if you find yourself in this predicament? What if you have asked yourself the question, am I happy? And the answer that echoes back from the depths of your being is a resounding no. The first thing, my dear friends, is to stop fighting it. Stop treating your unhappiness as if it were an enemy to be vanquished. The more you struggle against it, the more you try to fix your sadness or your anxiety, the more you reinforce its power over you. It is like trying to smooth out ripples in a pond with a flat iron. You will only create more turbulence. The very effort to be happy is a form of tension, a subtle violence that you inflict upon yourself. It is the I who is unhappy trying to become a happy I. But who is this I that is doing the trying? It is a ghost, a phantom, a socially constructed illusion. It is the ego, that persistent sense of being a separate, isolated individual, a skin-encapsulated ego, as I like to call it. And it is this very feeling of separation that is the root of our unhappiness. We feel lonely and afraid because we feel cut off from the rest of the universe. So the first step is to see the futility of this inner war. You cannot win a fight against yourself because there is no one to fight. There is only the experience of this present moment, and that experience is neither good nor bad. It simply is. Now you might say, "But Alan, that's all very well and good for you to say. You are a philosopher, but I have real problems. I have bills to pay, a difficult boss, and a nagging pain in my lower back." Of course you do. To be alive is to have problems. Suffering is an intrinsic part of the human experience. As the Buddhists say, life is suffering. But the trick is not to let the suffering make you unhappy. Unhappiness is a reaction to suffering, not the suffering itself. It is the story you tell yourself about the pain, the resistance you put up against the natural flow of life. Let us take your back pain, for example. The pain is a physical sensation. It is a series of nerve impulses being sent to your brain. That is all it is. But then, the mind gets involved. It starts to spin a tale. "Oh, this is terrible. I can't stand this pain. It's going to ruin my day. Maybe it's something serious. What if it never goes away?" And so on and so forth. And it is this mental commentary, this frantic resistance to what is, that creates the unhappiness. So, what to do? Instead of resisting the pain, try a different approach. Allow yourself to feel it completely. Don't label it as bad or unwanted. Just be with the sensation. Observe it with a kind of detached curiosity, as a scientist might observe a strange new phenomenon. You might be surprised at what happens. When you stop fighting the pain, when you accept it as part of your present experience, it often loses its power over you. It may still be there, but it no longer dominates your awareness. This is what the Zen masters mean by chopping wood and carrying water. It is the art of being fully present with whatever you are doing, without judgment or resistance. Whether you are washing the dishes, walking in the park, or even experiencing pain, you can bring a sense of mindfulness and acceptance to the moment. And in that acceptance, you will find a strange kind of freedom. There is no greater freedom than the freedom to be what you are now. This brings me to the heart of the matter, which is the importance of living in the present moment. We are a culture that is obsessed with time. We are always looking back at the past with regret or nostalgia, or looking forward to the future with hope or anxiety. We have no present. Our now is just a fleeting infinitesimal hairline between a past that we can no longer change and a future that does not yet exist. But the truth is, my friends, the present moment is all there ever is. It is the only reality we can ever know. The past is a memory, a collection of fading photographs in the album of the mind. The future is a fantasy, a projection of our hopes and fears. But the now is real. The now is where life happens. To be fully alive is to be fully present. It is to be completely engaged with what you are doing in the here and now. And when you are truly present, you will discover that the ordinary becomes extraordinary. The simplest things, the taste of a cup of tea, the feeling of the sun on your skin, the sound of birds singing outside your window, become sources of immense joy and wonder. But how do we learn to live in the present? It is not a matter of trying to force yourself to be here now. That is just another form of struggle, another trick of the ego. Rather, it is a matter of letting go of your incessant need to control everything, letting go of your worries about the future and your regrets about the past, letting go of the idea that you need to be somewhere other than where you are. One of the best ways to practice this is through meditation. And by meditation, I do not mean some esoteric practice that requires you to sit in a full lotus position for hours on end, chanting strange mantras. I simply mean the art of paying attention. Sit quietly for a few minutes each day. Close your eyes and bring your awareness to your breath. Feel the sensation of the air entering and leaving your body. Don't try to control your breath. Just observe it. When your mind wanders, as it inevitably will, gently bring it back to your breath. That is all there is to it. This simple practice, done consistently, can have a profound effect on your life. It teaches you to be present, to be aware, and to be a non-judgmental witness to your own experience. It helps you to see that you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you are not your body. You are the silent, spacious awareness in which all of these things arise and pass away. Now, I can hear some of you saying, "But Alan, this all sounds very passive. What about taking action? What about changing the world for the better?" By all means, take action, change the world, but do it from a place of presence and acceptance, not from a place of anxiety and striving. The great paradox is that when you stop trying to fix everything, when you accept things as they are, you are in a much better position to bring about real and lasting change. Think of it this way. If you are trying to build a house, you need a solid foundation. If you are building on a foundation of anxiety and dissatisfaction, your house will be a wobbly and unstable structure. But if you build on a foundation of presence and acceptance, your house will be strong and enduring. The same is true for your life. When you are grounded in the present moment, you are able to act with clarity, wisdom, and compassion. You are no longer a slave to your reactive emotions. You are free to respond to the needs of the moment in a creative and intelligent way. And what you will discover is that the world doesn't need as much fixing as you thought it did. In fact, many of our so-called problems are of our own making. They are the result of our frantic and misguided attempts to control a universe that is, by its very nature, uncontrollable. When you let go of the need to control, you will find that the universe has a wonderful way of taking care of itself. The clouds drift across the sky without any help from you. The trees grow and the flowers bloom without your interference. And you, my dear friends, are a part of this same natural process. You are not a separate entity struggling against the universe. You are the universe. This is the great secret that the mystics of all traditions have been trying to tell us for centuries. You are not just a skin-encapsulated ego. You are the whole darn show. You are the Big Bang, the spiral galaxies, the shining sun, and the gentle rain. You are the works. Now, of course, you are pretending that you are not. You are playing a game of hide and seek with yourself. You have put on the mask of a separate, limited individual, and you have become so engrossed in the game that you have forgotten that it is just a game. But every now and then, you get a little glimpse behind the mask. You have a moment of pure, unadulterated joy, a moment when the illusion of separation dissolves, and you feel a sense of oneness with everything. These are the moments that we all live for. And the wonderful thing is that you don't have to wait for these moments to happen by chance. You can cultivate them. You can create the conditions in which they are more likely to arise. And you do this by living in the present moment, by accepting what is, and by letting go of your attachment to the ego. Imagine for a moment that you had the power to dream any dream you wanted. You could have any pleasure, any experience you could possibly conceive of, and you could dream for as long as you liked. 75 years of pure, unadulterated bliss, night after night. At first, it would be wonderful. You would fulfill all your wishes, satisfy all your desires. But after a while, you would start to get a little bored. You would say to yourself, "This is all very nice, but it's a bit predictable. I want a surprise. I want a dream that is not under my control." And so, you would start to introduce an element of risk, of adventure, into your dreams. You would have dreams in which you were in danger, in which you had to overcome obstacles, in which you didn't know what was going to happen next. And you would find that these dreams were much more exciting, much more interesting than your dreams of pure pleasure. And you would get more and more adventurous, taking bigger and bigger risks, until finally you would dream the dream of the life you are living right now. So you see, my friends, the life you are living is the dream you have chosen. You have chosen the challenges, the struggles, the heartaches, and the joys. And you have done this because you knew that this was the most interesting, the most exciting, the most fulfilling dream you could possibly have. Now you have forgotten that you have chosen it. You are pretending that you are a helpless victim of circumstances, but deep down you know the truth. You know that you are the dreamer of the dream. And when you remember this, everything changes. You are no longer a victim. You are a creator. You are no longer at the mercy of life. You are life itself. And in that realization, you will find a happiness that is unshakable, a peace that passes all understanding. So, what does this all mean in practical terms? How do we live this out in our daily lives? It means, first of all, to take a playful attitude towards life. Don't take it all so seriously. It's a game, a dance, a drama, and you are one of the actors. So play your part with gusto. But don't forget that it is just a part. Don't identify with it too strongly. It means to see the beauty in the ordinary. The world is a museum of wonders, and you have a front row seat. But you have to open your eyes to see it. You have to be present to the miracle of this moment. It means to love without clinging. Love people, love animals, love the world. But don't try to possess them. Let them be free, and in their freedom, you will find your own. It means to embrace the whole of life, the good and the bad, the light and the dark. You cannot have one without the other. They are two sides of the same coin. The joy and the sorrow, the pleasure and the pain, are all part of the rich tapestry of existence. It means to trust the process. The universe is not a random collection of atoms. It is an intelligent and orderly unfolding, and you are a part of that unfolding. So, relax, let go. Trust that you are exactly where you need to be. And finally, it means to be grateful. Grateful for the gift of life in all its messy and magnificent glory. Grateful for the air you breathe, the food you eat, the people you love. Grateful for the simple fact of your own existence. When you live in this way, you will discover a happiness that is not dependent on external circumstances. It is a happiness that arises from within, from your own deep connection to the source of all life. It is the happiness of being what you are. And so, my dear friends, I will ask you the question once more. Are you happy? But this time I invite you to answer it not with your mind, but with your whole being. Don't think about it. Don't analyze it. Just feel it. And if you are very quiet, if you listen very carefully, you may just hear a little voice within you, a voice that has been there all along, whispering yes. Yes. 1,000 times, yes. Let us delve a little deeper into this matter of acceptance, for it is a word that is often misunderstood. Acceptance does not mean resignation. It does not mean that you should be a doormat and let people walk all over you. It does not mean that you should condone injustice or cruelty. Acceptance simply means to see things as they are, without the filter of your judgments and opinions. It is to acknowledge the reality of this moment, whether you like it or not. And the strange thing is, when you truly accept a situation, it often begins to change. It is as if the universe has been waiting for you to stop fighting it, to stop resisting it, so that it can work its magic. I have known people who have struggled for years with a particular problem, a difficult relationship, a chronic illness, a dead-end job, and they have tried everything to fix it. They have read all the self-help books, gone to all the workshops, and spent a small fortune on therapy, but nothing has worked. And then, one day, they just give up. They surrender. They say, I can't fight this anymore. I accept it. It is what it is. And in that moment of surrender, something miraculous happens. The problem begins to dissolve. The relationship improves. The illness becomes more manageable. A new and better job opportunity appears out of the blue. It is as if the very act of resistance was what was keeping the problem in place. And when the resistance is gone, the energy is freed up for a new and more creative solution to emerge. So, if you are facing a difficult situation in your life, I invite you to try this experiment. For just one day, stop trying to fix it. Stop struggling against it. Stop complaining about it. Just for one day, accept it completely. See what happens. You may be pleasantly surprised. Now, I want to say a word about the role of the mind in all of this. For the mind is a wonderful tool, but a terrible master. And for most of us, the mind is in the driver's seat. It is running the show. Our minds are constantly chattering away like a noisy little monkey in a cage. They are always judging, comparing, analyzing, and criticizing. They are always worrying about the future and regretting the past. And we have become so identified with our minds that we believe we are our minds. We believe that the voice in our head is who we are. But you are not the voice in your head. You are the one who is listening to the voice in your head. You are the silent, spacious awareness in which the thoughts come and go. And when you realize this, you are no longer a prisoner of your mind. You can step back and observe your thoughts without getting entangled in them. You can watch them as you would watch clouds drifting across the sky. This is the essence of mindfulness, and it is a skill that can be cultivated through practice. The next time you find yourself caught in a storm of negative thoughts, try this. First, acknowledge the thoughts. Don't try to push them away or suppress them. Just notice them. Then label the thoughts. You can say to yourself, there's the I'm not good enough story again. Or there's the what if worry. This simple act of labeling creates a little bit of space between you and your thoughts. It helps you to see that they are just thoughts, not reality. And finally, let the thoughts go. Imagine them as leaves floating down a stream, or as clouds being carried away by the wind. Don't expect your mind to become completely silent. That is not the goal. The goal is to develop a new relationship with your mind, a relationship of gentle and loving detachment. When you do this, you will find that your mind becomes a much more peaceful and pleasant place to be, and you will be free to experience the joy and the beauty of the present moment without the constant interference of your chattering mind. And so, we come back to the beginning. Are you happy? And if not, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to continue to chase after a future that never arrives? Are you going to continue to fight a battle against yourself that you can never win? Or are you going to try a different approach? Are you going to let go of the struggle and embrace the present moment? Are you going to accept yourself and your life just as they are? Are you going to befriend your mind and listen to the wisdom of your heart? The choice, my dear friends, is yours. But I can tell you this. The path of happiness is not a path of striving and achieving. It is a path of letting go and allowing. It is the path of becoming what you are. And what you are is something far more wonderful, far more magnificent than you have ever dared to imagine. You are the universe, expressing itself as a human being for a little while. You are a wave in the ocean of consciousness. You are a star shining in the darkness. And when you know this, when you feel this in the very marrow of your bones, then you will be happy. Not because of anything you have done or achieved, but simply because you are. And that, my friends, is the greatest happiness of all. So, go now and live. Live with presence, live with passion, live with playfulness, and above all, live with love. For in the end, love is all that matters. It is the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, the one true reality. And you, my dear friends, are made of love. So go and share your love with the world. And in doing so, you will find the happiness that you have been seeking all along.
What if you are God, dreaming you are human? Now, don't accept this as a doctrine or cling to it as a belief. Instead, play with it as you would play with a story, a thought experiment. Because if you look deeply into this possibility, you begin to see how it explains the peculiar comedy of existence, the joys and tragedies, and why things are exactly as they are. Think of it. If you were God, if you were all, powerful, all-knowing, infinite, you would soon become terribly bored. For imagine knowing everything, being everything, and having no surprise. Perfection sounds pleasant for a time, but it would grow monotonous, like watching the same play over and over without variation. So, what would you do? You would invent a game. You would create the grandest hide-and-seek ever conceived. You would hide from yourself. You would forget who you are, and you would pretend to be many men, women, animals, plants, stars. Each life would be a mask of your own being. And in this great drama, you would immerse yourself so deeply in the part that you would forget it was a play. You would forget that you were the actor behind all the masks. For if you remembered too easily, the game would lose its thrill. It would be like reading the last page of a mystery novel, first spoiling the whole story. So you agreed with yourself, I shall forget, I shall live as though I am only this body, only this mind. I shall fear, I shall hope, I shall strive, and then, one day, I will remember. This is the dream you are living right now. You, the infinite self, God if you like, are pretending to be human. And in pretending, you are not less, you are more. Because God as God cannot experience limitation, cannot taste the thrill of uncertainty, cannot feel the poignancy of loss. Only by becoming human, by playing the role of mortality, can the infinite know what it is to love, to fear, to hope, to die. And so, here you are, believing yourself to be a separate person. And that belief is the very essence of the game. Now, this raises a curious question. If life is God playing hide and seek with itself, then what is death? Death is the moment the mask is lifted. The curtain falls, and you step backstage to remember the truth. It was all play. That does not make it meaningless. Quite the contrary, it makes it precious. For the actor loves the role, even knowing it is not ultimate. In fact, the role is sweeter because it ends. The tragedy more moving because it is fleeting. Death, then, is not the end of you. It is the end of the dream. And after death, why, you choose another role, another mask, another dream, and again you forget. Because that is the thrill of the whole game, to wake up and to fall asleep over and over like breathing. This is why the Hindus speak of the universe as Leela, divine play, God playing hide and seek with itself, God forgetting and remembering, God dreaming itself as all things. And in this dream, every joy, every sorrow, every triumph and disaster is part of the drama. For what fun would a play be if nothing ever went wrong, if the plot had no twists? Now, some will protest, but if I am God, why would I create such suffering? Why would I choose pain? The answer is simple, because without contrast, nothing is experienced at all. Without darkness, light is unnoticed. Without silence, sound has no shape. Without sorrow, joy has no sweetness. Suffering is not a punishment, it is the shadow that makes the dance visible. When you understand this, suffering does not vanish, but it takes on a new quality. You see that it too belongs, that it too is part of the dream, part of the play of the self. So here is the great reversal. You are not a fragile creature at the mercy of a vast universe. You are the vast universe pretending to be a fragile creature. You are not a small wave lost in the ocean. You are the ocean, playing at being a wave. This is what the mystics mean when they say, Tattvam asi, you are that. You are the eternal consciousness behind all appearances, and this life, with its struggles, is your chosen disguise. Not chosen by the small you who remembers little, but by the deeper self who is all. And if you see this even for a moment, it changes how you live. You no longer take yourself quite so seriously, as though your failures and embarrassments were cosmic tragedies. You laugh more. You forgive more easily, because you realize that this too is the game. You are God pretending to be a person, and everyone else is God pretending too. That stranger on the street, that enemy, that friend, they are masks of you. Different disguises in the same play. And when you begin to see this, compassion arises naturally. For how could you hate your own self? Imagine for a moment that tonight you dream, and in your dream, you forget it is a dream. You live an entire lifetime. You are born, you grow, you suffer, you love, you die. And then you wake astonished. Would you say that dream was unreal? No, it was real, for it was experienced. So too with this life. It is a dream, but not in the sense of a fake illusion. It is real as experience. It is God's dream of being human. And one day, you will awaken to realize it was always yourself. Now, notice the strange paradox. If this life is God's dream, then you are both the dreamer and the dreamt. You are the actor and the role. The problem only comes when you identify exclusively with the role, forgetting the actor. Then the tragedies feel unbearable, the conflicts endless. But when you remember even slightly that you are the dreamer as well, then everything takes on a lighter quality. You can still play the game fully, but with a kind of inner laughter. For deep down you know, this is me, pretending. This is me, wearing a mask. And you see, even the forgetting is part of the design. If you remembered constantly that you are God in disguise, the play would collapse. You would lose interest. It would be like watching a film, but knowing every line in advance. So you agreed to forget. You agreed to believe this dream fully. And that is why it feels so real. Because it must. A dream only works if you are convinced while inside it that it is reality. And this dream of being human is the most convincing dream of all. Think about your own nighttime dreams. When you are in them, you rarely question them. If a lion chases you, your heart races, your body sweats, your fear is real. Only upon waking do you laugh and say, it was only a dream. But what if this waking life is the same? What if, when you die, you laugh and say, it was only another dream? And what if you then realize the dreamer was always you, the Godhead, the eternal self, trying on yet another mask in the cosmic theater of existence? Now, some will say, but if I am God, why do I not feel like it? Because feeling like God is not the point of the game. The point is to feel like you, precisely as you are. If you always felt infinite, immortal, invulnerable, there would be no drama. But to feel limited, fragile, temporary, that is where the richness lies. That is where the story gains texture. A story without struggle, without vulnerability, would not move you. You need the risk, the uncertainty, the shadow to make the light worth seeing. So, the invitation is not to escape the dream, nor to despise it. It is to see it as play, to live fully, as though it matters, but also with the awareness that beneath it all, you are not diminished. The pain may come, the losses may sting, but the one who plays all roles cannot be harmed by any single one. Just as an actor can die 1,000 deaths on stage and yet rise for applause, so too you die in dream after dream but remain untouched, for you are the dreamer. And here lies the deepest comfort. No matter how dark it becomes, no matter how frightening, it is still play. A terrifying play perhaps, a tragic one, but play nonetheless. And knowing this does not cheapen your life, it enriches it, because you see that nothing is wasted. Every tear, every mistake, every joy, every heartbreak is part of the unfolding. You are not here to win or lose. You are here to experience, to taste the full spectrum, to dance every dance, laugh every laugh, shed every tear, and through it, to know yourself in all ways. This is why the mystics smile, not because they deny suffering, but because they glimpse its context. They see that suffering too belongs to the dream, and that beyond it, the self remains whole. That you are not merely this person struggling to survive, you are the totality playing at being this person. And when you understand this, life no longer feels like a burden to be endured. It becomes a play to be enjoyed, even in its difficult acts. For even tragedy in art has its beauty. Even sorrow in music has its harmony. So what happens when you die? You awaken, and for a moment you remember, yes, I was playing that role. And then, like any actor who loves the stage, you step back into costume. You choose another mask, another dream, another lifetime. And again you forget. Because forgetting is the rule of the game. Only by forgetting can you remember. Only by sleeping can you wake. Only by losing yourself can you rediscover yourself. And thus the cycle continues, endlessly, joyfully God dreaming, God awakening, God dreaming again. Now, one might ask, if I am God dreaming, does that mean everything is my responsibility? Am I guilty for every cruelty, every injustice? No, for you are not only the victim, you are also the perpetrator and the bystander and the healer. You are playing every part. It is not about guilt. It is about exploration. For how could you know compassion unless you felt cruelty? How could you know forgiveness unless you experienced betrayal? How could you know courage unless you faced fear? Every role deepens the whole. Every mask expands the play. And so, you see, you are not trapped. You are not merely a pawn in a hostile universe. You are the universe itself, playing hide and seek with your own face. What a grand joke. What a wild game. And if you can sense this, even faintly, you can live differently. You can take your joys more deeply, your sorrows more lightly. You can laugh in the face of despair, not because it is trivial, but because it too belongs. And perhaps in that laughter, you will recognize the one who laughs, the dreamer behind the dream. And so here you are, playing the role of you, waking each day convinced of your name, your story, your past, and you must play it convincingly, otherwise the play falls flat. But deep within, there is always the faint whisper, this is not all, this is not the whole of me. That whisper is the dreamer reminding you just a little of who you are. Not to spoil the game, but to comfort you when the play becomes too heavy. To let you know that however dark the dream seems, the dreamer cannot be harmed. Think of children playing pretend. One plays the doctor, one the pirate, one the princess. They throw themselves into the parts, and yet, if one falls and cries, the others immediately drop the game to comfort them. Why? Because beneath the masks, they know they are still friends. Life is the same. We are all playing roles, yet behind the masks, we are the same being. And when you glimpse this, compassion flows. For you see the villain as another mask of yourself, and the suffering of others as your own dream calling out for kindness. And perhaps this is the greatest secret. You don't need to awaken fully from the dream to live differently. You need only remember now and then, to catch the playfulness of it, to see the masks for what they are. Then you can dance with life instead of dragging it like a burden. You can laugh at the absurdities, weep at the tragedies, rejoice in the joys, all while knowing somewhere deep that none of it can truly diminish you. For you are not the mask. You are the one wearing it. You are the dreamer. So it means you are not trapped in some meaningless accident. You are participating in the most extraordinary play imaginable, the play of forgetting and remembering, of losing and finding, of dying and being born again. It means that your struggles are not in vain. They are part of the adventure. It means that when you love, you are God loving God. When you laugh, you are God delighting in its own play. And when you die, you are God waking up from one dream to dream another. And so the invitation is simple. Live this life as though it matters, because it does, but do not cling to it as though it were all you are, for it is not. You are the actor, not only the role. You are the dreamer, not only the dream. And when you know this, you can throw yourself into the play with abandon, with courage, with joy. For the secret is, you cannot lose. You are always already the self, the Godhead, the eternal dreamer. And this life is your masterpiece, unfolding moment by moment.